So, so if my thinking is correct, they would purposely, so when they are uh, at this level, when they would, when they when the put prices fall, I mean when the market falls, the put prices would become expensive. Can you see the screen also? I hope it is available. You are able to see the screen being shared. So when the market falls, the put prices will become expensive, and I think this is the point that at which around which they will short it, because they need expensive puts to short so that it can lose more value. Uh, there is theta decay which happens. Obviously, the theta decay would not be uh, will be like OTMs or ATMs. This will suffer the most. But what I understand that this will become uh, valuable, more valuable. It has more value. So when you short a 100 rupee put versus a 1 rupee put, it will always make sense to short this one. Now, what happens on Monday? So, two possibilities. One, that in the first half, the calls which have been bought, which will lose value, so they are sold, uh, and rather squared off. Puts which have been written, they are covered uh, in the first half. So if this happens, you will see the markets falling in the first half. If this happens, you would also see the markets. But the structure is bullish. What happens on Monday will only be known at that point in time. If you look at the hourly structure, it looks very, very bullish, um, strongly bullish. And this structure, it has been following uh, since April. If you look at the RSI of this, possibly this is uh, overvalued, and I see some divergence also. How do you see this divergence? Let me see if I can remove the sessions break. And so what has happened here is, while uh, Nifty is above this level, the RSI is somehow is has not broken that level. Uh, it has remained at the same level, and it is some sort of a warning sign that one needs to be careful on Mondays. Uh, it is trying to break the high which was established on first, and this is the second attempt to cross this line. Whether it will succeed or not will depend on a lot of things. Obviously, the news flow that we see, how Dow Jones behaves tonight. This is could this be the second mountain? Um, Now, at this point in time, I think the most of the retailers are absolutely bullish about it. So we have to be careful of that mentality. If it breaks, so there are possibilities that it can have a gap up, and a gap up is generally filled. So gap up could indicate a lot of sentiments. Otherwise, you could see a mountain formation here, uh, which also is possible. The somehow the negativity seems to be building up over the weekend with the news of a nuke, etc., etc.
See, the same divergence can be seen in the Dow Jones and 1 hour chart.
Same divergence can be seen in the Dow Jones
Yeah.
chart. The
Yes.
next week again, I would say, is going to be volatile because you have CPI data coming from lot many countries, and the risk of inflation has not gone down. So if you've heard RBI and if you have heard Fed, they both of these institutions have said, and they're pretty credible institutions. They've said that uh, you know this is just momentary. So we need to look at inflation. So post the Fed's announcement, right after the Fed's announcement, uh, the CPI numbers will become a very important reading, and which all countries are releasing this. And this is slightly on the flattish side of it, 78 points up, but Dow Jones, if you see, has largely not performed today. It has definitely done in the past three sessions. If you look at the economic calendar, and I think I would refer to the uh, forex uh, factory economic calendar, the forex one, and the next week, I hope it is, yeah. So CPI data comes on June the 16th, 6.1. This is as forecasted, lower number, which is a good news from the European zone, uh, the most impacted one. And we'll also take a reading what happens next week. Uh, so it's not about the number, it's about uh, the, the economic data releases which will keep it. So there is a holiday on Monday the 19th. So don't expect much sparkles on Monday. Building permits come on Tuesday, which is an important number. So how is the construction activity doing? And that impacts a lot of industries because you buy chimneys, coolers, refrigerators. I mean, depending which where you live. Uh, if you live in the West, it's all West. You know, it is culture specific. So then you have a boat festival. So you know, not much happening, but you have initial. So not much happening in the morning time. The Bank of England releases its interest rate. It is forecasted to be 4.75%, which is slightly higher than uh, the previous one. So this would be, so this is forecasted, and if it is going to be 4.75%, so you'll see the impact of it. UK still has reported inflation as an issue, uh, and I think this the whole week. So you have a lackluster performance here on Monday, so it could simply settle down, and the markets could get volatile uh, Wednesday and Thursday, which can give you some understanding or some expectations, or some hope on the volatility front. So the volatilities will be higher on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Uh, the Chinese, uh, the Dragons Festival continues until the whole week. So it's through the week, and you have data coming in from PMI. Anyways, there seem to be cracks in the economy. The unemployment rate has gone up in China, which is slightly surprising because it is an economy or which is a country which has been feeding the entire world with its kind of factories that they've built, mega factories. So the German PMI, the manufacturing PMI. So throughout the week, it's going to be volatile, and let's see how it. Generally, we've seen Mondays. Uh, Whenever there's a holiday in the US, the markets, the other markets also take a pause. So you don't see much sparkles, no firecrackers. This is from the Forex factory, and so Monday the 19th, not much data. You have some data coming in from NAHB Housing Market Index. There is Australian monetary policy meeting, and if you are aware, the New Zealand has officially entered into a recession. Uh, the German PPI, the current account, the building permit. So 20th is a very important is an important date, and then there is a Japanese MPC meeting, the wherein it will be declared. So the findings and the interest rate decision will be disclosed, and then you have 21st also and 22nd. We have some input from Vittalji that on the Dow Jones also on hourly time frame. Vittalji, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, chaliye. So let me remove all these drawings here. Very clean, and let's check out the. Yes, there is a divergence, and I would sort of believe because they have taken a sort of unhindered approach. Uh, it's been a fantabulous journey, I would say. And if I count it from here, this is close to 2,000 points, and a similar number on Nifty also. Whether it can cross 18,900 can only be decided by a gap up that I see, and a sustained gap up that I would like to see. So if you see from March in, rather April, 16,800 to 18,800. Now here, this is the place where institutional players are active. Uh, so either you will see a fall and minimum of 400, 500 points, or you will see a gap up from here. This I have presented many times on various forums, spoken about it, and we've seen this. Uh, so 18,800 is a number which makes a lot of gaps. And if there is a gap here, gap up, and if it is sustained, so gap ups are not a magic phenomena. So don't expect that there will be a gap up on Monday, for example, and there will be no negative behavior around that. However, this is a very practical, not from an academic book kind of thing. So let me show this to you how a gap up behaves before it runs up further. So this is a realistic assessment of a gap. And if you look at this one, so there is a gap up here, and couple of days it will sort of come down. So it is shaking your confidence in the markets, whereas it is supposed to run up. And I've spoken about this very specifically many times. Uh, Gap ups generally 2 3 days you'll see that there is a downward movement. You think that, but I think if gaps are sustained, if it goes back to this level, this we have seen here also. There is a gap up. Next day there was some drama there on the negative side of it. So you may see a gap up here, and that does not mean that Tuesday will mean would mean there's a straight run up here. You would possibly see it correcting here. These kind of small candles, doji candles, all sort of negative candles you'll see here. And if the rally is to sustain after 3 4 days, you possibly could see another gap up. That has been the behavior, and with an accuracy of 60 70%, it cannot be true all the time. Sometimes it is a one day, so, it sustains one day and then falls. Sometimes it is 3 4 days, but generally we've seen 2 3 days. So watch out for the next 2 3 days. If you see on Monday a gap up on Monday, if this is not sustained, then you would possibly see this faltering out. Now, how do I know that this is going to go? This is going to perform. So possibly I will have to switch to a different screen frame. This is because how do you make your strategy until unless you read these data points in depth? Difficult if you don't think through it. If you're not thinking through such possibilities, and obviously it is not a recommendation, as you understand. This is all from an academic research perspective. So let me bring Nifty. There you go. There you go. And I'll just reset this chart so you can see it in a better format. So yeah. So we've seen huge selling pressure here and then some recovery. Uh, the selling has been more than what they have bought, which is quite surprising to me. Uh, so the sell pressure is sufficient, some amount of recovery there also, but you got to be careful. For real estimate of volumes, you will have to shift to futures because futures is something which captures the the speculative side of it. And if you look here, so you saw some movement here and then downside, and then again there is buying happening here. If I switch this to remove the noise, I still see buying here, which is pretty much above the moving average line. Oops. You've seen a similar behavior here. You've seen it fly off, but couple of days later you have seen it come down also. There's a difference between this and this. Rather, I see a similarity between this and this. So this had already been declining for a while. This was declining. Here comes the movement. Here comes the movement, and then comes the. Now, if you were to believe these volumes here, this should have never actually corrected. So, which side the markets would turn, that you got to be very very careful because we have seen uh, volumes being pumped here. It flows off. It flies off rather, and then volumes of a similar nature here. So very high volumes are actually also a trap because those indicate sell pressure. Uh, could this be a repeat of what you saw here? And if you want to take some statistical measure here, you would possibly want to know by how many points it has run up before it corrected. So about 242 points, uh, and this is close to similar number here. If I slightly drag this up, so this is close to 230, 15, 30 odd numbers. It's a similar behavior. The point is you got to be careful, and it may give some time for theta decay because weekends puts have been sold, they would decay, and so let's see how it behaves.
And sir, one more point is the decline is getting increases irrespective of
The
Nifty.
decline is getting
Decline is getting increases irrespective of Nifty. Like Nifty is um, getting increased, but decline is also getting increased. So I think there is some anomalies is also there at advance and decline ratio.
advancing. ये एक और देखिए 478 पॉइंट चला, just double the amount. But my analysis or my research revolves around the fact that if such a huge volume came in here, then why the stock, and I'm assuming this is the stock does make a gap up, but why does it hold near this level and then it falls off? And this comes at 9:15, but if you look at the prior volumes, um, it has high volume. It flies off because of the high volume at 9:15, but and then the story is slightly different. Um, if you look at these volumes, let me see if I can bring you better volumes here. I mean, something which makes sense. Very high volume declines. What I'll do is I'll get you the sessions break with a better, and this is on a 15-minute time frame, so with a better color, I think looks much better. Let me put this on a full screen for you. Okay, I'll have to take a quick break. Just get this thing adjusted here. Just give me 1 second before it runs out of its capacity. Uh, just give me 1 second. Yes, so back to where we were. Um, 1500 hours, very high volumes, makes a gap up the next day, and then has a significant fall. Very high volumes, makes a gap down, and traps. So, is it that the retailers are expecting Monday to be bullish? Check with your people around. Check with people. People around you, just ask them how does Monday look like. If most of them say bullish, or if they say bullish, and we'll do a survey right now post the session. And generally, what you've seen is if you hold on, uh, so it can open with a gap up, and then it possibly may give up on Tuesday if it opens with a gap up and holds there. So two possibilities. First possibility is makes a gap up, the story is over. Second is it makes a gap up, holds throughout the day, and then it falls on the the succeeding day. Uh, and this is at different levels. So markets had not run up uh, significantly at that point in time, or otherwise, if you look at very high volumes. So why not let us go and investigate this same structure when markets were around these levels on 22nd December and around these dates. That will give you more clarity because similar behavior, price behavior, similar levels, and this will help you in formulating a strategy. Otherwise, if you don't do this research every night, you possibly, and if you don't have these set of questions, because no one knows what can possibly happen, it's just difficult to know. Again, my thesis is I see these kind of huge volumes. Uh, the story may not be that simple. However, to build some more evidences, and these are based on historical evidences, so you cannot trust these statements with 100% accuracy. Uh, there will always be challenges. We can only, before the market starts on Monday, or when the market starts on Monday, we can only form possibilities. It is a random walk. We're just trying to figure out. So there is a gap up, and it continues to move up. So it's a bullish day. You cannot ignore it. If it holds up at a certain level, possibly the next day would see correction. The third possibility is a down, um, as a downside that you see, uh, which says the sentiment wise, while it may fill the gap, the sentiment would be that there are cracks developing in. So the cracks which are building up. So 18,800 levels. We are back to these levels, and here is another evidence uh, being presented to you. What will happen is only Monday would know. There is no possibility. So it runs up, and I would say this is close to 200 points. Um, Cumulative, this should be close to 300 to 400 points. Very high volume, builds up towards the end of it, goes up, corrects a little bit, and then again the volume kicks in, and possibly by now you understand where I am pointing to. But it obviously know that this is not going to be 100% correct. तो ये देख लीजिए, I think this is close to 330 points of movement in the 2 days, in 2 days rather, so in those 2 days, and yeah, very high volumes generally have led to uh, consolidation and correction. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, if you hold, possibly, so Mondays and Tuesday, possibly if you hold, uh, there is something, there's some message hidden in it. So the story is not simple. Possibly you would want to. Vitalji, I think you had some observation which I would like to. If you're there in the class, Vitalji, आप हैं क्या?
यस
कुछ आपने बोला कि कुछ एनोमली लग रही है, थोड़ा मुझे समझाएंगे क्या? Just want to pick up that.
एडवांस डिक्लाइन रेशियो अगर आप देखेंगे
Correct.
तो मींस निफ्टी पूरे दिन अपसाइड मूव में है, पर डिक्लाइन रेशियो बढ़ रहे हैं, मतलब
Decline.
ये मुझे एनोमली लग रही है अगर आप मनी कंट्रोल पे
Yes. So the more we research, uh, हाँ, थैंक यू, थैंक्स। अच्छा, आपने भेज दिया। मेरे दिमाग में एक और थॉट है, एंड जस्ट इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग दी ह्यूज वॉल्यूम्स दैट वी सीइंग हियर। वहाँ कैसे चला गया पता नहीं इसको। I was just investigating these volumes that you see at the bottom. All of them have a similar structure level, and I am sure कि इन सब levels में निफ्टी जो है जाने के बाद largely ये मे का स्ट्रक्चर है। मैं वॉल्यूम पे खींच रहा हूँ और ये मुझे प्राइस स्केल पे दिखा रहा है।
हाँ, और मिड कैप स्टॉक काफी चल रहे हैं, मींस
मिड कैप
पता नहीं, तो वो इंडिकेट कर रहा है कि सब लोगों को लग रहा है कि वो ऊपर जाएगा और वो ऊपर जा करके नीचे गिरा दें।
करेक्ट। आइए इस थॉट को देख लें जरा। आपने जो भेजा, कैन आई कॉपी दिस स्लाइड, कैन आई पेस्ट दिस स्लाइड? सो यही भेजा ना आपने?
हाँ हाँ, यही इंट्राडे
इंट्राडे आपने भेजा है। तो किस डेटा पॉइंट को मैं आप चाहते हैं एडवांस डिक्लाइन रेशियो देखिए?
हाँ, बस ये थोड़ा सा ऊपर, बस यही राइट हैंड साइड, ये इंट्राडे।
तो बीएसई है क्या?
हाँ, ये बीएसई है।
गैप थोड़ा कम हो रहा है नहीं?
और जबकि निफ्टी तो ऊपर गया है, मतलब अगर आप निफ्टी इंडेक्स साइज को देखते हैं तो निफ्टी तो काफी ऊपर गया है। और
आइए इसको भी एनएसई के एडवांस डिक्लाइन पे देख लिया जाए। अब मैं सब रिकॉर्डिंग बंद करके स्टॉक है जो खोलने वाला हूँ। भैया भाई, मुझे डेटा चाहिए आज। ये सम पोजीशन ओपन। चलिए, यहाँ एडवांस डिक्लाइन आ गया, एंड 1.64 as far as Nifty is concerned. Finally, we have this sheet here with us. Yes, कैश मार्केट 794। इन्होंने फ्यूचर्स में 1800 करोड़ खरीदा है। इन्होंने इंडेक्स ऑप्शन में बेचा है, और क्या बेचा है? पुट बेचा है, आपको पता है। अगर हम थोड़ा पीछे चले जाएं, slightly back. If we go to the uh, indices section, okay, message coming in. Um, so they are building the positions on the long side of it. This is the one, two, three, four. See, if they continue to do this for 5, 6 days, a week, I would say. So it is one, two, three, four. पहले तीन पकड़ा था मैं. Then I would say that possibly their view is changing. They are on the long side of it. Structure is bullish. There is no doubt about it. It does not mean that the markets will not. Markets always make a high and low. But if this sustains on the long side of it, फिर आपको थोड़ा बेयरिश साइड पे केयरफुल होना पड़ेगा बिकॉज दे चेंज दिस साइड्स और ये मैं देखना चाह रहा था एंड दिस talks about a change in the market structure. So Monday is going to be an important day, and I would want to see this uh, for 7 days at this level of the market. When it is close to 18,900, 19,000, I would really want to see this. कि क्या होता है? Options OI, so net basis. This is where we stand. And options OI, if you look at for index, call 2.7 lakhs, we understand. And if you see the put is 2.5 lakhs. So more calls then more puts, 2.7 versus 2.5 lakh. This is this piece of data. So 20,000 contracts more on the bullish side of it. So it's largely a bullish structure, but देखते हैं अभी because it's at the critical junction. यहाँ पर now you can really go and implement a long straddle because market is such a level. यहाँ से या तो भागेगा तो it can really create wonders. S&P is talking about the most positive news is S&P is talking about a rating upgrade in a situation where and the finance ministry had a meeting with them in a situation where the world is fighting and is suffering. S&P would possibly review their rating. If the rating is reviewed, इससे क्या क्या फायदे हो सकते हैं? First of all, the borrowing cost will go down of India as a country, of companies which raise funds outside. So borrowing cost of the companies, the country and the companies will go down. If this goes down, it'll have a direct impact on the valuations. ठीक आपको अगर आपने DCF सीखा है discounted cash flow, so it is the cash flow one plus जहाँ भी interest rate है, so the cash flows were discounted by the interest rate and so on and so forth. The moment you decrease the interest rate, because it is in the denominator, this value, the denominator becomes small. The moment denominator becomes small, the valuation goes up. So any con- company, if the value, the interest rate goes down, obviously this would have a huge impact. It is also on the psychological impact, the goodwill part of it, the investment opportunities, um, the threat perception. So every country has a country risk premium, which is published by Dr. Ashwath Damodaran, and I think you can go and explore that. So he maintains a list, an online list of country risk premium. हर country का risk कितना है, उसकी premium क्या है. If the base rate goes down, if the rating improves, the equity risk premium will also go down, and hence the country risk premium will also go down. And I think it's part of a larger geopolitics where we are a part of a quad. Uh, our prime minister has been invited by uh, first state official visit in the in a decade or so, and all this has been is being played uh, by none other than Mr. Ajit Dovalji, because it also makes sense if the cost of borrowing goes down, if the rating improves, it also makes sense for American companies to invest here. Anyways, they want to diversify. Uh, if you invest in a country where the rating improves, naturally the rating of your subsidiary also improves and their funding capability also improves. For example, a lot of these countries, a lot of these companies in Africa want to have a base in South Africa. Now, South Africa has a different country rating, so far I understand, and if I'm not mistaken. So, if you have your base here, if you have your company registered here, because it, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just verify this. Because the rating of South Africa is different, uh, so you obviously the rating of your subsidiary will also be different. For example, if you are headquartered in Singapore, because the risk perceived risk in Singapore is less, the cost of borrowing of companies based out of Singapore will be lesser, and hence the rating of your subsidiary will also be better. If the rating of your companies or the subsidiary is better, the borrowing cost will also be less. So it's a cycle, it's a vicious cycle, and that is what is pushing the markets. But obviously, S&P will take some time to analyze that, put it across, and I am sure it is a part of some meet, some geopolitical level event, which may be tied to an announcement, which is a give and take thing. So I don't think it is going to be unilateral. If you read the finer points, and what you see here is it comes out of it. So which strategy, and we'll stop here, uh, should be applied at these stages? And Prina, if you're there in the class, I would recommend the test a long straddle on Monday. Very strong resistance, very strong supports, uh, straddles on the long side of it. And this is not a butterfly thing, just a long straddle. You can go and implement, and I think this would make sense. So let me have this here. Let me show this to you. Strategy builder. What do you do in a long straddle? You are expecting something unexpected, very volatile movements. Now that could be because of event, that could be because of RBI decision, that could be because of some data coming in, that could be because of election results, or that could be around the support and resistance. Markets can jump up if there is a gap up, and if this is really a rally that is coming, then you would see markets really explode from here another 200, 500 points. Even if it were to become a trap, it's a trap of 500 points before retailers realize that they will be sucked into it. Because then they cannot resist above 19,000, and every media channel will be talking 20,000. If it is not going to cross it, these levels, then it will see a downfall of 200, close to 500 points, possibly, as we have seen in the past. Empirical study, no recommendation here. So any side movement coming in, what do you do? How do you implement this? And you should try this virtually. Uh, you buy at the money call and put. Once, please do this on Monday virtually in Opstra or whichever platform, and then we talk more about it. Until you do this, we'll not be able to progress through it. So this is for tonight. But before we leave, um, we'll catch up on next week. I am traveling, so it is going to be disturbed. So I don't hope to conduct any classes because I am in different parts of the country on different dates. So what I would also want to see before we wrap this up. Almost at the bottom of it, it's damn cheap right now. VIX, you and if you watch this carefully, it has a tendency to reverse. I think this is set on an 80-20 thing. The bands are set 70 and 30. Okay. I just want to remove this noise here. So it has a tendency to reverse around 30s. There are two levels around which India VIX reverses. One is about 32 levels, and the second one is around 27. But it would possibly see a reversal because this has been going on, the drama has been going on for a while. So please be careful because if it touches these levels, you may see a reversal. India VIX reversing means Nifty you will see going downside. Here we are, and you have seen a strong support here on a weekly time frame, which is around 40 levels. Rarely it drops. It dropped in December 19, long time back. It dropped in July 21, and it dropped in December 22. Could this be a repeat of? And December 22 is a period when it touches the highest 18,800, rather 900 levels. However, your RSI has not come to this level. So RSI has not become really cheap. So while markets were at the close to 18,900, uh, this was at 32. While we are at 18,000, close to very close to 18,000, those levels we've not seen it. In fact, when it touched 18,864, we've not seen it go to 32 levels. That means this movement is slightly expensive than the previous 18,900. Uh, could this be a reversal on the upside? Monday and the whole of week, please watch it very carefully. We got to be careful. And if you check this on a monthly basis, I think it is at the bottom of it. It is absolutely at the bottom of it. It has actually broken the support. Rather, it is at the, almost at the same level. Uh, and this is 10 years of data. Um, if it is so cheap, if India VIX is so cheap, would you attempt a buy side? Is a question that you'll ask yourself. Whether you'll attempt a sell side is something you'll ask yourself. But it's really cheap. India VIX is at the lowest point. You've seen these numbers in 18, May 17 rather. Seen a slightly higher number in January 20, and you've seen a slightly uh, some number in October 21. So please take a note of this. Um, Last thing for the day, rather night, and now today I want to check this with at uh, at a two Bollinger Band setting. So this is close to the two uh, at the resistance level to Bollinger Bands. The 3 is somewhere here. On the 3, it is 18,961. Another 100 points from here is a major, 19,000 rather, is a major resistance. Uh, which one comes to that, I won't be able to tell you. But as far as 2 standard deviation is concerned, it's almost there. Be careful, stay careful, take care. God bless you all. I'll see you sometime next week as I'm traveling. Thank you and have a good one. I am available for any messages that you send. I will always be able to answer. I mean, most likely with a delay, but I'll be able to answer. Thank you and good night and God bless you all. Bye.
Good night, Priya.
Good night, sir. Good night.